Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is June 3rd, 2021. And my name is Leslie Williams. Excuse me for the coughing, but I've been having a tickle in my throat all day today, so it's being a little bit annoying. Alright, let me show you something here, and then I'm going to segue into the subject matter of this video. Now, this is strictly going to be a new hiking area strategy moving video series video. Many videos already made and incorporated within at least 2 to 3 separate Periscope accounts and at least 2 YouTube accounts. So just bear with me if you're a regular follower concerning updates. Now you see that you see that over there, that thing that looks like a pyramid. That's called a rat mound. It's a wood rat mound that's propped up all over San Diego at different wooded areas. And I believe that that's done so the rats have long enough time to live till they become adults, and so they can become food for coyotes. It's being used by me as a landmark, as well as that friggin' tree right there. Alright? Now, you'll understand, as long as I remember to, it's being shown in this video for a reason, and as long as I don't get distracted in my statements in this video, I'll expand on why that's relevant. See, in gang stalking crimes who made me homeless from 4 apartments in Michigan and 1 in Tennessee, Google my descriptions to gang stalking. Let's see if I can set this phone up right here so I don't have to continue to hold it. Okay, so that should be okay. Alright, so check this out. Now, I want to describe first some things that I've been through as a direct result of what I've been through, at least concerning how I've been gang stalked, how they've taken advantage of the homelessness ever since they started creating it in Michigan, going all the way back to 2000. 2003 actually was the first time that I gave up an apartment directly because of gang stalking. The apartment became nothing but a non-stop, at least massive toxic environment. No one could live in the environment in that apartment that I was living in, that I just rented from 1993 until 2003, and it just got so toxic. It was literally it was unlivable for any human being to thrive and survive and try and have a healthy environment. I was massively nonstop harassed at every single apartment that I lived in once the open gang stalking started in 2002. Okay? So, and trust me when I say I went through hell in all of these apartments before I finally moved from them. Okay? So, since gang stalking is a crime that wants you to know that each crime you endure through it is done intentionally through gang stalking, it literally wants you to know it through very clever means. And I'm not going to expand into all that because that's not what this video is about. I'm only bringing up the homelessness because it applies to the subject matter of this video. So, research my descriptions when it comes to me describing what gang stalking crimes do. And I think you're going to be able to see why this video is being made and why this subject matter is relevant. So anyways, now I moved from Michigan in April of 2011 to Connecticut for a few months, and then left Connecticut to come to San Diego in August of 2011. I have literally been gang stalked to every single place I've lived at and every single place I've went, including walking routes back and forth to every place I've went and lived at. Literally, bike routes, bus routes, walking routes, every business, every place I've been to, I've been massively nonstop gang stalked to and at, and in and out. And like, if it doesn't matter if I'm in a business or outside of the business, I'm being subject to gang stalking props. And you should always know that a lot of gang stalking props are intentionally designed to blend in within the environment. Okay, so the average person who might also be in the environment might not be able to determine that something's going on. So you should research the following 3 of many techniques of gang stalking. Their descriptions are dark neurologistic programming techniques, the direct conversation method, and the sensitization method of gang stalking. Extensively research all 3 of those, but make no mistake about it, that's just 3 of many. So always remember this. It doesn't matter where I go to rest at. It doesn't matter where I go to temporarily hike at. It doesn't matter if I go to a spot and use it for more than a week. It doesn't matter where I'm at along my routes. I am subject to gang stalking props that are propped up for me to either see and or hear, and at times periodically in between, things for me to intentionally experience, like restaurants intentionally fucking up my orders and trying to make it appear that it's an accident. Oh, absolutely. And trust me when I say I am not the only victim that's exposing that shit, that stuff. Oh, absolutely. And that's just one technique that they've been applying quite often lately. Okay, so so anyways, let me go back to now, let me tell you about some of the bizarre shit that this crime has been doing. And some of this was even intentionally perpetrated in Connecticut and massively also perpetrated in Michigan. Now, you got to understand something here. I've made many YouTube videos and many Periscope videos over the years, openly and depthly discussing and detailing brain entrainment connected to gang stalking, auditory and visual brain entrainment. Now, auditory and visual brain entrainment are some of the two main motives of why the community-based harassment is going on. It's also some of the two main reasons why, it's also another method that's done in this crime. That's one of the main motives behind it is brain entrainment, is the staged events. Okay? The staged harassment, the staged provocations, the staged accusations, any drama that they can suck you into, any physical interaction, altercation, accusation that they can suck you into anywhere, what it is, anywhere along your routes at any time of any second of any minute of any minute of the day. Okay, any type of staged event can happen against any and all gang stalking victims. And that's also done for the sake of creating episodic memories for brain entrainment. Auditorial auditorial entrainment can be infused within it. So trust me, there's multiple motives going on concerning this freaking crime. But the brain entrainment is the hardest to prove. It's the easiest to prove if you were able to go into an uncorrupt hospital or an uncorrupt medical center and get the right type of doctors who could test you for it. Then it would be extremely easy to prove. But getting that done is extremely hard to be done, because, so remember, Google my statements to gang stalking concerning, like, my descriptions: hospitals, medical centers, doctors, nurses, administrative staff, to gang stalking, including falsifying medical records and intentionally criminally diagnosing gang stalking victims with mental illnesses that they do not have at all in any way, shape, or form, not even a speck. So, including psychiatrists and psychologists to gang stalking. This is nothing but a nationwide organized crime syndicate that is in the system at the federal, state, and county local level, who is networked and connected to corporations, and they are the only ones that have the networking influence to network and privately collude with any and all places the victim goes. And I mean every place the victim goes: DMV, social services, banks, charities, churches, food banks, homeless shelters, you name it, grocery stores, restaurants, movie theaters. Google all my statements to gang stalking. This is how, in one way, how the harassment is forced upon the victim everywhere they go, because of the private colluding relationship that these satanic rats have at the federal, state, and local level. They are the only entity that's got the power and influence to influence any place a victim goes to. So that place can then be used to apply gang stalking techniques against the victim, including property owners and landlords of apartment complexes, property owners of wooded areas. And so all this collusion is what ensures and makes this crime so effective. Oh, absolutely. Without the collusion, without the conspiracy that's involved in the collusion, without the conspiracy to get people to assist them, this crime would not be effective at all. Let me segue now into the subject matter of this video. As a direct result of me being gang stalked to over 38 different wooded areas, 38 different resting places that I go to, because every human being on this planet, every creature on this planet has to sleep. Okay? Now, as a direct result, and if I went to a homeless shelter, I would be gang stalked there. If the police would investigate this crime thoroughly and totally uncorruptedly, I wouldn't be homeless. I would just get an apartment and live my life. But there's no sense in getting an apartment or a room for rent or a motel room if I'm just going to be gang stalked to these places and then made homeless from them again. Google all my statements. Why go through thousands of dollars and end up losing that money, go through nonstop hell every single second of every single minute that you spend at these places? In fact, you can even be set up at these places as well. Why go through all that money when you're just going to end up right back out on the street, having to take your shit back with you and hide it at wooded areas, and you can't even go rent a storage locker somewhere, because that's just one more environment you will absolutely be gang stalked at, and more than likely even set up at. I've already been through it in Michigan, at U-Haul, located on Telegraph Road off of Goddard Road and Telegraph Road, and a storage facility that I rented in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So, try hauling everything you own after they stage an event and tell you you got to leave and that you got to take all your shit with you. Try hauling a locker full of shit with you in a week. Okay? Because they target your transportation too, so you don't even have a fucking car to sleep in. Google stage car accidents to gang stalking. So let me segue into now the subject matter of this video. Since I've been gang, and I absolutely have, and I also absolutely have massive evidence concerning it, not only being gang stalked along all my routes, but also to every single wooded area I've used. Every single one. I got evidence. Now, check this out. One of the main things they've been doing to me as a direct result of me being gang stalked, to and at places I rest at, stay at, including wooded areas, because all the places I've stayed at, 99% of them have been wooded areas. Okay, so check this out. I have not stayed at any homeless shelter, not even for a second. I've never even been to a San Diego homeless shelter, okay, since 2011. I've stayed by myself at wooded areas throughout the entire time for the last 11 years. I don't do drugs. I do not drink alcohol in any way, shape, or form. I do not do any type of illegal drugs at all. Allergy medicine, sinus medicine, and vitamins is all I take. So if on any date I end up going missing and the police try and claim that I was hanging around the wrong people, they're nothing but lying whores. It's all they are. And I don't drink alcohol at all. The last time I drank alcohol was in 2012, and I had 3 wine coolers while I bought them from a store and went and sat somewhere and drank them by myself, got up and left. Okay? So anyways, now, I wanted to get that out of the way, and I also want to let you know that I am not homicidal or suicidal, and I do not have any mental illness at all in any way, shape, or form, and I am not violent to myself. I am not violent in any way, shape, or form to myself, or never would be, and have never been to anybody else. I have literally been physically, brutally assaulted 9 times out here in San Diego since 2011. Every single last one of those was staged assaults directly connected to gang stalking crimes. Okay? So anyways, now, every single wooded area I stayed at, these satanic little murdering, gang raping, human trafficking animals that host this crime have propped up people to either camp out or hike out directly within a very short distance of me. They've also propped up people so that they would be discovered when if I get up and leave to go to the grocery store and come back, they have propped up people to hang out in close proximity of me, including social deviants. Okay? And, that's happened at multiple wooded areas. Hold on. And they've also engaged in massive property theft, property damage, and by and through criminal acts have caused the loss of massive property. Now, I'm going to be making some more moving video series videos. Okay, as I'm going to try and even maybe make one once a week or once every 2 weeks. So stay with the YouTube account that you see this video in. And please feel free to go into my videos in this account that you see this video in and look at those as well. And always make sure you look in the descriptions of my YouTube videos. Now, hold on one second. Let me get some water here. Bear with me a second. So, one of the additional things that they've been doing... Hold on. Now, a little bit ago, I brought up 3 of the methods that you can research online connected to gang stalking: the sensitization method, DNLP, dark neurolinguistic programming techniques, and the direct conversation method. Now, what you got to also understand is that you can also be sensitized to types of people, and this fucking crime will use anybody for it. Anybody of any age, any type of person. They will use anybody from a fucking child to a teenager to an adult to a disabled person, okay, to an elderly person, to homeless people, social deviants, punks, criminals, and crazies. Any type of person of any age they will use. That's the gang of gang stalking. That's part of the gang of gang stalking. Another part of the gang of gang stalking is where they will use people at places you go to, no matter what that place is. Literally, any place. So when you go out and about in your community during the day and you go for a drive, look at all the different types of places that are out there in your community, like restaurants, movie theaters, banks, post offices, coffee shops, libraries, universities. Google them all to gang stalking. Excuse me, please. And then you can research. Excuse me. Then you can even research well-known names of business franchises to gang stalking, as well as libraries and universities like Starbucks, the main grocery stores that are out there, okay, and all of their affiliates. Like out here, they got Vons and they got Albertson, and Albertson owns Vons. Out here, they got Rouse, but Kroger's owns Rouse. So Google the hell out of them. So I think you get a general idea. Taco Bell, Jack in the Box, any business, McDonald's, even places you go get your haircut at. Okay, Google the hell out of them to gang stalking. And then when you see the data that comes up and you see targets descriptions of how they state they're being gang stalked at these places, anything that you don't understand, any verbiage that's used to describe what they're enduring, if you don't understand it, do not dismiss it. Do not think that it's dialogue from a crazy person. Just extensively research this crime and then go back to that exposure. And trust me, you will understand it. Make no mistake about it. So one of the main things that these 6 satanic whores have been doing is that they intentionally classically condition victims to be afraid of assault, property theft, property damage, staged events that could lead to your arrest, including at wooded areas, because once they create the homelessness of you, they completely control that circumstance, which is another additional reasons why the police will refuse, they'll never admit it, but why they will refuse to investigate you being gang stalked and will refuse to file a uncorrupted police report concerning it. Absolutely. They know you're enduring it. Okay? So Google them to gang stalking. Okay? Oh, absolutely. Hold on a second. By the way, you should know that gang stalking victims have recently been declared as extreme torture victims by the UN. So go to Google and type in the Cyber Torture Report, the United Nations, electronic harassment and gang stalking, and you'll find it. Cyber is a hyphenated abbreviation that stands for 2 separate words. It's got 2 meanings applied to it. Cybernetics, where the non-consensual human experimentation projects that's occurring to gang stalking victims applies to, and the cyber harassment that we endure online through any and all online platforms, and the cyber harassment we endure concerning our accounts being infiltrated, manipulated, okay, and much more. Okay, so including our phones, computers, and everything. So anyways, so what I'm going to be doing is that when I'm at a wooded area and I find a wooded area where there's no one else seemingly on the property, if I don't hear people talking, if I go to a wooded area and sit down for an hour and no one's talking at all, no, and I don't see anybody's property or see anything that suggests that anybody's on the property, as long as it provides me with a reasonable entrance and exit, as long as it's far enough away from a road where no one can claim that they innocently saw me to report me, then I will utilize that spot for at least one night. Well, let's say if the next day I wake up and it's raining, or that night it rains and then it's raining the next day, I might decide to stay in a tent in order to keep myself dry. Okay? Do you see that little Geico lizard right there? Anyways, do you notice how he blends in with the wood? Okay, watch. I'm gonna make him move. Hold on a second. I'm not gonna hurt him. I don't believe in hurting animals outside of self-defense. It is, or for hunting. So I'm putting a stick towards him. Now watch. He's gonna move. The stick ain't long enough. He's watching it though. Watch. As soon as I touch him, he'll move. Well, he moved a little. Anyway, so check this out. So, now, also know that if I'm ever sick, okay, and I don't feel well enough to get up and take my tent down, then I'll be still in it. Now, outside of the rain and outside of being sick, those will be the only times, once I start implementing my new hiking area strategy here within the next 10 days, those will be the only times that my tent will be up during the day. If I, like, say, come to a wooded area, set up my tent an hour or two before it gets dark out, and then that night or the next day there's projected rain, okay, then I'll leave it up. If an emergency happens and taking the tent down and hiding everything interrupts my schedule too much so that I can't attend to the emergency in a timely, orderly fashion, I might leave it up. Okay? And or if I'm sick, that will be the only time the tent will be kept up during the day. Now, when I take my tent down, what I'll be doing, like say if I'm in a general area, let's assume I'm in a general area where there's at least 2,000 to 3,000 feet of nothing but wooded area. Okay, so let's assume that I came to one of those places and I put my tent up. The next morning when I get up and take it down, the tent and the tent poles will go with me. the weatherization sheet that I put on the top of it, in order so that no one can claim they saw a flashlight in a wooded area after dark, and to keep the rain off me in case it does rain at night. And the sheeting that goes on the floor of the tent will be folded up, along with the sleeping bag, the weatherization blanket I bought, and other loose ends like napkins and a couple, maybe some canned food items and some water will be put in a black garbage bag, and they will be taken to a spot to where they can be hidden completely out of sight and even camouflaged, so that when I come back to that general area, I can then wait until an hour or two before it gets dark out and find a spot to put up my tent, grab the bag, take the stuff out of the bag, put it in the tent, and then just repeat the same thing over and over again. Now, here's an additional reason why I'm making this video. We're going to see, my fellow American citizens, this applies now for every single day of every single week of every single month of every single year, no matter where I am pitching my tent up at, period. No matter where I leave property at. Because again, when I take the tent down, the tent will go with me, the tent poles will go with me, everything else will be tightly folded up, put in a black garbage bag. I use, when I leave property behind, I put it in a black garbage bag, so that black garbage bag can be taken somewhere completely out of sight, and then even camouflaged. So that way, if somebody innocently comes on the property, whether they're homeless or not, they can't claim that they saw it, went through it, and stole it. Okay? Now, when I leave during the day, after I take care of that in the morning, and then leave during the day to go about my business, and then come back, we're going to see if anybody is hiking out, camping out, or hanging out anywhere within 1,000 feet of that. Up to 2,000 feet of that. I don't give a shit if they disturbed it or went into it or are in possession of it or if it's gone. That's being predicted right now. Now, you need to also understand, at the last, there was a main area I was using for quite some time. I labeled it the Octopus Tree location, because I don't verbally notate when I make a video, whether it be a Periscope video or a YouTube video. I don't state what road I'm off of, because that's not safe. Because my videos go online, they go on Twitter, they go on my blog, they go on my YouTube account. When I was able to make videos through Periscope, they go on my Periscope account. So I'm not going to openly say I'm homeless, I'm a woman, and I'm staying here. That's dangerous, okay? Online is dangerous enough. So I don't need any outside parties knowing where I'm at, too. Plus, I don't need the cops knowing where I'm at, because I already know they're staging probable cause at wooded areas, using buffers between me and them, and they will stage an event as a buffer as well, including staging an event to get me to call the cops, so the police have a normal apparent reason to know where I'm at. Make no fucking mistake about it, okay? So you need to extensively research the police's connection to this crime, extensively. The police, the fire department, all first responders are massively one of the main identified perpetrators of this crime and participants in it, okay? So, now, that also includes anybody being along the trails that I take back and forth to the area where the property is left at, and along my routes getting back and forth to it. Because what you got to understand is that when they stage assaults and when they stage physical interactions, what they're doing, what they've always been doing in San Diego and in Michigan, is what they do is they prop up props. And these props can be viewed by most people who are healthy, who will say, that sounds like something that's not cool. That sounds like something that could even be threatening. They'll literally have people go by my areas and they'll intentionally have them act wild. Okay? Literally wild. Okay? And they'll have them act wild on the road, and then sometimes they'll come on the property and have them act wild from a distance. Now, that's done to create a threatening, to engender a environment that feels like it's threatening, because they know you don't know where this event's going to go. Why do they do that? Because they know it's going to excite fear and a mental and emotional response out of you. Why? Because they already know they've staged assaults against you along your routes and at wooded areas. So when they use somebody against you, anywhere they use them against you, especially for assaults, they will make sure the victim sees and or hears something that is anchored to that event. And then they will use different assholes throughout the years to repeat very identical, similar behaviors that was related to the first event. That's how they let you know that this person in the area is connected to gang stalking. And including, check this out, this is literally what this crime will do. They'll even prop up kids on the road. And they'll act wild, they'll act crazy, they'll act loud, and they'll even say gang stalking, oh my God, on several occasions. Okay? And then on other occasions, they'll just have kids on the road act wild and loud without saying gang stalking, oh my God. Why? Because they know that when they created the first 15, 20 times they did that, they also had the kids say gang stalking, oh my God. So you see, the noise and the types of behaviors they were engaged in were included with the words gang stalking, oh my God. So gang stalking, oh my God, is the anchor, and it becomes the trigger in the victim's mind to the action. It's called classical conditioning. It's related to the sensitization technique. So that way in the future, whenever you hear kids on the road acting loud and staying there for long durations of time, they know the second that you hear them, it's going to excite that response that was created and reinforced when they propped up kids on 15 separate dates to do it while they were saying gang stalking, oh my God. So you see, they're creating an environment where they commit certain acts, and as those acts are being created, they'll say something they know you've been sensitized to, or they'll make a sound they know that you've been sensitized to. That way, when they use people on later dates who won't say gang stalker, oh my God, who will just engage in the act and or include the sound in the act, they know you're going to recognize that to be connected to gang stalking. That then excites the brain into psychological intimidation and fear, because it's called anchoring. That's why they always anchor sounds, words, phrases, colors, and physical gestures to an original trauma. And then they just build on it over time and repeat the things that were anchored during the trauma to all resulting props that are propped up over the years. That's why you need to extensively research trauma connected to gang stalking and the sensitization method. This is widely reported online. It's nothing but it's classical conditioning, which is a term that's used in psychological like, if you get a degree in psychology, if you're a psychiatrist, it's called operant conditioning, classical conditioning, and that's what gang stalking does. Okay, just to kind of brief you a little bit on that a little bit more. There's an example that's even online where they staged this brutal rape of a woman, and as they were raping her, they shoved some socks in her mouth. And they were mocking her. They were maybe even saying certain words and phrases, identical words and phrases over and over, where they might make specific identical sounds. Then on subsequent dates, everywhere she went, people would make sure that she would see socks. She'd go to Walmart, and an employee would walk up to her and say, "Did you forget these socks?" Now that act, when the Walmart employee approaches her and says, "Did you forget these socks?" to somebody who might be in that environment hearing it, it looks like a Walmart employee might just be approaching a woman and saying that to him because maybe the woman left the socks on a counter after she said she was going to buy them, or that maybe she left them after she where they're trying to create the to make it look like that maybe she bought the socks and forgot to take them with her. But what it really is, look at what the Walmart employee says. The Walmart employee says, "Did you forget these socks?" Because when the socks were associated to the rape, it became a memory anchor. And then when they're presented along her routes, that becomes a memory reference. Every time the socks are intentionally presented, she knows that it's being intentionally presented because they massively do it to her everywhere she fucking goes. She gets on a bus. Somebody will intentionally get on the bus and lift up their pants and constantly pull up their socks. Okay? So you see, now it becomes a memory reference to a traumatic event. Every time she sees the socks, it will stimulate the disassociation the brain went into when she was being raped as the socks were in her mouth. So do you see how it works? So then on subsequent days, they might have proper people along her routes to show her the socks and talk about socks. Now the verbal description of a sock is now associated to the crime. So then on subsequent days, after this has been done to her for years, everywhere she's went, literally, all they got to do then in the future is prop somebody up around her at a Walmart or a Target or even on a bus route and say, "Oh, geez, I forgot my socks." Like they're talking like they forgot their socks, their gym socks or something. So do you see how then that is used as a memory reference to excite the memory anchor related to the original event? So this is how they disguise what they do. It's no accident when you research the sensitization method that they're sensitizing victims to everyday things. Coughing, clearing your throat, laughing, clapping, whistling, knocking, banging. And then you got all the physical gestures and the color coding. Welcome to gang stalking. And the gang of gang stalking is where they'll just use fucking anybody in the community to repeat it around the victim. Now, the way the brain stores a traumatic event, the people who host this know all this. They know about post-traumatic stress. They know about what it takes to create a memory anchor, so that memory anchor becomes a memory reference to the crime. Okay? Now, the memory reference, the memory anchoring, and the memory references, that's connected to the entrainment. And the entrainment's directly connected to remote neural monitoring. And remote neural monitoring to this crime is directly connected to the neural hacking for neural influencing, so the victim can be influenced in certain ways through remote neural monitoring, which operates from a remote distance to the victim, where they're literally neurally, remotely not monitoring and influencing the victim's brain, literally from a distance, and they're able to gain that neurological access by and through propping up a prop that stimulates the response. Once that response is stimulated, they identify it from a remote distance, and then they're able to neurally hack. And then they can nearly influence you to act out in any single way that they deem that they want that victim to act out in, for speech, anger, rage, violence, anything. Google all my statements. They can also heterodyne things onto your brain as well. So the anchoring and the harassment and the traumatic events all has to do with brain entrainment connected to remote neural monitoring. So go to Google and type in Brian Tu electronic harassment. Research him extensively at Google and YouTube, and eventually you'll understand. When you bring up his exposures on YouTube, make sure you read everything in the descriptions. Okay? Now, so that's what I'm going to be doing. When I start this new hiking area strategy, the tent will be taken down every friggin' morning. So if I wake up on any morning and anybody's on the property that wasn't on there that night, it would be gang stalking. I don't give a flying fuck if they don't do anything that I've ever talked about in prior audio files that show me describing what they do. If they do anything, because you got to remember, even an act can be, when they repeat something over and over and over and over and over again, they know you're going to recognize it to be done through gang stalking. While that act has no outwardly apparent markers to be connected to a crime connected to gang stalking, which would then suggest that it was intentionally done, which is an additional reason why I predict what I do. How are you going to prove somebody's intentionally coughing in your environment? And I'm not saying that's being done to me. I'm not saying it's not. But that's being re-mentioned because you need to see that they will literally sensitize you to something to make it a memory anchor for a memory reference, so that when somebody does it, is if they sensitize you to somebody coughing and then an asshole comes up to you and starts squaring off with you for on a made-up reason, and then tries to suck you into a drama that then leads to an assault, they let that victim know that it's a gang stalking assault by having that person or anybody he's with or anybody that's around the victim as this is occurring. They intentionally let the victim know that it's happening through gang stalking by and through coughing in specific ways, clearing your throat in specific ways. It's also done to excite the coughing is also done to excite the electromagnetic response in the brain for remote neural monitoring purposes. So it's got multiple purposes. They want to make sure that you recognize that any physical interaction propped up around you is connected to gang stalking by and through repeating identical behaviors using anybody of any age at any time. Okay? So I'm approaching the 33-minute mark, so I'm going to probably go over 33 minutes in this video. And the reason why I state that is because this phone is only allowing me to make 33-minute videos at a time, except for the last video that I just made a little while ago. The video I made a little bit while ago was well over 33 minutes, and for some reason it became